We are live. Hi, everyone. Hi, James. How are you? Happy
Doing all
Friday.
right. Oh man, I'm glad to be here. Happy Friday. Just checking to see if we are on YouTube,
Uh,
hopefully.
we are definitely on Twitter. I can see it.
Okay, Twitter's looking good. YouTube, just gonna refresh this page, see if we're showing up. Yep, okay, we are live. Awesome.
Yes, thumbs up.
So we got a fun agenda today, and it's just the two of us, Giovanni and me.
Let's
And
do it.
what we're going to do is work through our catalyst proposals. But before we do, I wanted to point out that this is our 28th weekly update, and 28 has always been one of my favorite numbers because it's something called a perfect number. You ever heard of these?
No, never.
So a perfect number is an unusual sort of number where you can see right here, I'm on Wolfram Alpha. The sum of its divisors adds up back to it. So 6 is a perfect number because 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6, right? And 28 is the
So,
next perfect number. And the next one after this is 496. So I did the math, and the next time there is a Gimbalabs weekly update, that's a perfect number. It'll be July 19th, 2030.
okay.
So here's to getting to the next perfect
But
weekly update.
next milestone is going to be like in 9 years.
That's it, 9 years away. It's not, and then the one after that, I'm not even going to do that, man.
I think I'm going to be dust by then.
These are our descendants. If we get to that one, I'll be amazed. But yeah, 28. How do you like that? So it's our 28th weekly update. We've been doing this since January. We always envisioned that there would be a rotating cast here, and so it's been fun to grow this leadership team. Giovanni, to have you aboard. And as we look at these proposals today and we think about Fund 5 coming to its conclusion this weekend, it's a pretty exciting moment to be at. And I think that all three of these proposals that we're going to talk about today really get at this moment, right? All the work we've done has brought us to these proposals, and every one of these proposals is designed to propel us forward. So let's talk about this one, Dandelion. Roberto presented this at the first ever Idea Fest, and it won one of the awards as one of the best presentations that day. And it's been really exciting to watch this proposal gain traction because we all believe in it so intensely. But to help people understand, one of the things that was a little bit controversial about this proposal at first is that it's here in the DeFi ecosystem challenge. And I think that this proposal pushed people's understanding of DeFi a little bit, right? Beyond decentralized exchanges, beyond liquidity pools and borrowing and lending. How do you explain to people what this has to do with DeFi?
Me?
Yeah.
So I think I'll take from one step back, from even a larger picture. Mm-hmm. I think that most of the people know and are aware of the end products, of the actual products or features or applications, DeFi applications, right? But and this is the sexy part, right? This is the thing that everybody uses. So everybody is aware of the final product of the application, the system, the website, or whatever. But it's less sexy. But that doesn't mean not equally important what is actually supporting those systems, supporting those applications, whether they are mobile on your cell phone, or if it is like Web 3.0, or if it is, I don't know, a screen in the middle of the road, in the middle of Manhattan or something. But all those things, they are actually running and they are leveraging a number of system that possibly no one has ever heard of, but they are doing like the so-called heavy lifting. Heavy lifting means talking to the blockchain. Heavy lifting means distribution that is different from decentralization. And I may spend 2 words in a minute about this. So this is what Dandelion is about. Dandelion is, alongside other products out there, but Dandelion is one of these, is basically the platform that is doing the heavy lifting, that is bringing and connecting things together so that it's easy to implement DeFi apps. It's easy to implement DEXs. It's easy to implement browser plugins that are talking to the blockchain, because the browser that is in your the plugin that is in your browser, it can't talk to the blockchain. There is no node, so there must be a node somewhere, and Dandelion has the node. And Dandelion not only offers a direct access to the node, but also offers a proxied access to the node. So that it brings the power back to the developer and say, look, whatever you need, I got it for you. And this is one. And then I'm going to spend 2 words about distribution versus decentralization. So I'm going to use a jargon a little bit more simplified rather than going into the academic definition, because I get lost myself if I give the academic definition. But we can think about a system that is decentralized when a node composing the network contains all the information and offers all the features of that particular system. So just to recap, a network of a system is called decentralized when every single node composing the network has both all the information and all the information and all the features, so that node can be considered as a single source of truth. So if you think Bitcoin nodes, you have hundreds of thousands of nodes, but if you talk to one, you have all the features of Bitcoin and you have all the data of Bitcoin. And this is worth for Ethereum, Cardano, every single blockchain. Distributed instead is when one of the two things is missing. Either you don't have all the features or you don't have all the information. So if you think about Google, Google has hundreds of thousands of nodes in their network, but it's not that on every single node there is Gmail, calendar, YouTube, and this and that. So either you have some of the features or you have some of the data. A very long story for explaining that Dandelion is a system that is distributed, but at the same time is doing that part of the resiliency, is offering that resiliency that you can't have in every single feature of the decentralization. Otherwise, you will have like mastodontic data servers that will have everything inside. So Dandelion is doing this, is bridging the gap between the decentralized nodes of Cardano and the reliable infrastructure that the DeFi system requires in order to guarantee uptime and constant and reliable access to the blockchain. Sorry, that was very long, but I just wanted to explain what it is all about. And we don't want... Sorry, go ahead.
Good. Well, and just I'm really glad you highlight this distinction. And I think this is something that more of us should talk about more often. And to me, decentralization and being distributed, those are two different continuum, right?
Yes.
For me, decentralization is more of a political thing. It's who's the leader, right? Or do I need a leader? And like you're saying, in a decentralized system, any given node can be its own source of authority, right? And doesn't need to rely on somebody else being in charge, right? Distributed is a completely different concern, right? It's how, like you said, resilient. It's how reliable something is, right? And ideally, we want to maximize both, right? In a good world, we would all be able to rely on the authority that we prefer, whether that's ourselves or a network, right? And some people still want, to live with a certain amount of top-down authority, right? This is a there's advantages to any given approach, but decentralization kind of puts that choice in our hands. Whereas distributed is, I want the things I build to work, right? Even if I'm not beholden to some other leader, I do want the reliability that comes from resilient systems, and being distributed helps with that.
This is exactly that. So the distribution is basically one of the facets that Dandelion is looking after. We are aiming and hoping to make Dandelion as distributed as possible, to put it in the hands of the community at different scales. It can be an individual developer or individual operator that wants to have his own installation, or it can be an SPO that is like the ideal target for this project, because pre-existing understanding of how to manage and how to think about Dandelion it's easier if you have like an experience as a SPO, because there is an overlap in terms of system there. So it would make total sense. Or it can even be like a company, small company, larger company that wants to set up their own stack for development purposes. If they want to use their own testnet, they can spin their own testnet and just put Dandelion on top of it. Because you see, these are very, very heterogeneous use cases, but the challenge and the effort and the expertise that we put into this is to make these examples, even though very heterogeneous, still very simple to solve, so that no one else has to do again for yet another time, or solve a problem that we already done on their behalf. So this is our contribution. This is what we are trying to make complicated as simple as possible. Of course, we are not there yet. There is a long journey, and there is a chunk that is still unknown. It is about the integration of smart contracts, how the pub is going to blend in with all those things. But hey, this is exactly why in this moment in time we are looking for funds. We are looking for the possibility of digging, being pioneer for the third time in my life of an area that hasn't been, or some other people are doing, and together with their effort, with the community effort, we want to solve this problem and give, again, power back to the developers so that they can focus on the business logic of their apps and forget once and for all the infrastructure stuff, because that's where our expertise lies in, and we just want to build a reliable product for those people. So they just focus on building amazing products, being DEXs, being crypto kittens, being NFTs, whatever. You are the genius there. Like, we are the genius here. Let us handle the infrastructure part, and you build amazing products.
Infrastructure, right? And this is, I want to go back to that thing you said about the sexy stuff, and you just named a few examples. I've been thinking a lot about, and again, Gimbalabs hopefully really delivers on becoming a DAO, brings that to life, right? Whether we're talking about a decentralized autonomous organization or any sort of new kind of organization that these new tools allow, I've been thinking a lot in terms of cities for the last few months, right? And it's very similar to building a thriving city, right? All right, Giovanni, what's most sexy for you? For me, it's like bookstores and music venues make a city sexy to me. But
I love the transports. Like a city that is well connected is something that really amazes me. It has to be, because I hate pollution and I hate traffic. So when I can freely move with whichever thing that I want, being a bicycle or being a tram or a bus, that's really what, because it enables me to travel within the city and discover places. So for me, it's the journey has always been the thing that fascinates me the most.
No wonder you like Dandelion. That makes sense.
it's just that all the connections, right? It gives you the power to connect in whichever way you want. From the if you're a hardcore developer, it gives you like all the juicy nerdy things you need. Then if you're just like a JavaScript hacker from the browser, it gives you like very high level endpoint, and in just commands, you can be inspecting the blockchain without even knowing that there is a node or whatever. So that's the level of abstractions that it gives you. And yeah.
Well, so the reason I'm thinking about, city level infrastructure, right? Before you can get to this point where there's a thriving, clean public transportation, or bike lanes and bike shops, right? Or for me, right? Like I said, bookstores, music venues, bars, restaurants, parks, all of these things, right? All of those things only come after industry. This is a historical fact, right? Once a city has something to stand on. I grew up outside of New York City. I spent my 20s living there, right? And how did New York started as a trading port, right? It started because it was an easy place to come and go to on the open sea, right? It had a protected harbor and a beaver trade, right? The Europeans showed up and said, "Oh, there's lots of beavers here. we can export those," right? And that set in motion the process of building infrastructure that over the centuries leads to being a place where all this other sexier stuff lives, right? But that's what we're trying to do right here. And for me, that's the connection to decentralized finance. It's the stuff happening behind the scenes that creates finance in the first place that can be then used for other things, right? We've got an unsig as our background here today, right? And this Cardano NFTs wouldn't exist without the Cardano settlement layer in the first place, right? So there's just this whole journey that we're on. I'm really excited that Dandelion is going to provide an income generating infrastructure for a wide variety of people. Anyway, we're speaking in metaphors here, but I really hope that this kind of helps people understand why we see this as such an essential DeFi proposal in addition to everything else it is.
And the one last sentence that I want to add is that so if someone says, "Do we need this or do we need it now?" I come from 16 years of software development in the classic tech industries, so mostly is e-commerce, right? And that industry taught us to be lazy and say only build things when you need them. But then, if we look at the crypto space, we have the opposite. You can see how Cardano has been building lots of things that they are only using now. They've been reading lots of paper that they're only using now. It's like, how come? Like, is this different tech? I think it's yes, it's a different tech, and we have to be honest. Even though like the software development life cycle can be similar, but the approach needs to be different. In this case, this type of platform needs to be solved. This layer needs to be looked after immediately. Otherwise, when there is going to be like the real need, everybody's going to come up with their own solution that is similar but different. And then we will have like a panorama, an ecosystem that is very heterogeneous, when really this is an opinionated piece of software and architecture that should be looked after once and for all and forget about it. Otherwise, we will end up like with the very similar ecosystem, very similar companies that are doing things very similarly, but yet if they want to migrate from one thing to another, they can't because it's too late. Mm-hmm. This thing, if we tackle it now, is going to be easier and cheaper to do. And it's going to provide like a common ground for everyone else to build their products. If we delay this like 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, like people cannot move from one implementation to the other. We can't have like a common ground, but it's going to always be a little bit different. So this is my last point.
Love it.
And what it should be done now.
Yeah. Then now is the time. Now's the time, because we've got all the good stuff to get to, and this is going to help us get there. So, and hey, Philip, it's good to see you guys here. If you have questions about anything we're saying or ideas for how you would extend this, just drop that into the chat. So Dandelion is this infrastructure. If we continue the metaphor, this is like the key, right, to the infrastructure.
Correct. Correct. So we don't, while it's ideal to do things for free and for the community, etc., sometimes we need incentives. The Dandelion is a growing ecosystem. One of the KPI, one of the design challenge that myself and Roberto have put into that is that we also want Dandelion to be modular, so that you only deploy the bit that you want, always in the picture of being standard, and to offer the bit that you want. That means that Dandelion will grow as an ecosystem and it could be costly to run it. So we need a way of incentivize this. So we thought that also looking at the market, that there is an opportunity of building this system and to monetize it, offering access to Dandelion in a tiered way. So if you're a single developer that is getting his hands dirty, we want to give you free access. While if you're a company, we can guarantee, I don't know, a specific usage, a package for use this over a month with a certain cost, etc. But there is one thing that is missing, and it is like the credential, the authentication, the subscription part, right? So offering a service to a party via an authenticated and authorized fashion, in a way, in an authorized authenticated fashion. So here comes the blockchain authentication mechanism. That is my proposal. And this is a blockchain native mechanism for third party to integrate to Dandelion in this case, but this can really be anything. So what I'm designing here is at the beginning it's going to be an opinionated way, because it's going to be tailored on Dandelion, but then we're going to promote this into an agnostic, a server-side agnostic implementation. So you can use this. If Netflix goes crazy and wants to do this on the blockchain, they can do that. You just take this plugin and they use it. And this is going to basically leverage the Cardano native assets as so token NFT as a mean of recognizing whether or not a wallet or an entity is authorized to use the system, and then metadata to enrich the so-called ACL, that are access control lists for an actor. So if I am a client, a customer, and I want to use Dandelion, and I only want to use one of the features Dandelion offers, metadata is going to be the place where this level of controls is going to be persisted. So we're going to be using like a few nice features that Cardano offers. And yes, this is already been designed, and in my mind, I already have I've already disclosed this thing to a couple of community members, but I already have an idea on how to make this design even stronger. So I'm working on a proof of concept to ensure that the new design that I have in mind is at least as strong as the one that I'm presenting, so that we can build an even more and stronger authentication mechanism. And I can't deny that there are already another couple of people saying, I can definitely use this in my project.
Oh, man.
So all of a sudden, from being a problem nobody had, we're already three.
Well, and we know even internally that this is about more than Dandelion. It's absolutely essential to bringing this proposal to life. But we've already got 2 or 3 immediate other applications for it as well.
Absolutely.
And this is, right, just, you know, it's been a while since Fund 5 started. So just to bring people back to April, this is a really exciting challenge, because in terms of the money on the line, it's not quite as big as the Dev ecosystem or the dApps challenge. Even the DeFi one, what's the total amount of funding here? Right, DeFi, right, $250,000. By those standards, the metadata challenge is a fraction of that. But what this challenge is about is also about providing successfully funded projects access to the team at IOG to give technical support. And Giovanni, like you're talking about, right? Like making sure this is the most robust system that's going to work like you think, and having that ability to get community support on it. It's going to be really cool. I'm just really excited for the conversations that this proposal here is going to start. So thanks. And anybody who's interested can learn a lot just by looking at this diagram right here. I think you can see a better picture of it here. Well, you can
And I just want to mention, as before, the one last bit, I promise is going to be short, and it's not that the authentication mechanism that we have already in the industry, they are not good. They are perfectly fine. We just want decentralized app to be decentralized from the ground up. So if we still leverage centralized solution or Google Auth or all this kind of jazz, these are perfectly fine. They are just not decentralized. So in order to have a fully decentralized system, it would be nice to start from the ground up and just cover also this case. So this is another reason why we decided to go ahead with this, because we could just implement username and password, but hey,
right,
someone has to store this, right? And then we have compromising issues, and you have centralization. This is solvable, so why not? Let's do it.
We talk about proofs of concept all the time. No, it's perfect. It's such a key point. And what this is going to be is, yes, since you've built it from the ground up, people will be able to adopt it at different stages in their development process, right? So if this is a starting point for people, sure, they can use it from the jump. But also, you know, we certainly have some proofs of concept that we are building right now where we might not go the full benefits of decentralized and or distributed systems right away, just because we want to have a proof of concept out there, right? And when we are ready and this tool is ready, we can plug it in, right? So anybody who's using OAuth right now will be able to adopt this later on, and we'll have documentation for that. Hey, Kyle, what's going on? And A's got a question. Are there disincentives towards those who would abuse their scale greatly, displace smaller nodes? That's a really good question. I would love to hear what Roberto thinks, but Giovanni, what do you think?
I'm not sure I fully understand the question.
I mean, so the way I understand this question, built into Cardano is a parameter that dictates the largest stake that a stake pool operator can benefit from, right? The K parameter tells us, okay, there's this much ADA out there, divide by K, we've got a saturation point. Is this similar to this idea of having a saturation point, like a way to say, to limit the scale or influence, for example, of a dandelion node?
I think that it's hard to answer this question because it is unprecedented anything like this. But we can look at other blockchains, right? And I can't remember the name of the company that is doing this for Ethereum, but basically they established a monopoly.
Right.
And basically there is no alternative. You either give money to those guys or you have no alternative.
Right.
And I think this fits more in what A is saying. Like the opposite is also true. And this is the reason why we have to do this thing now. We have to start to propose alternatives, alternatives that are community driven and community owned, so that the control stays into the community, not in large corporation.
With that said, I think what complicates this is that the answer might be different. I wasn't sure if you were being coy and just didn't want to name it, but yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah, right. No, this is yes, right. You can build an entire blockchain, but then if you are relying on one organization to interface with that blockchain, what is the point, right? All we've done is we've wasted a lot of energy, right? So we need this piece. For me, what's interesting about this is that it's pretty straightforward to think about how the Cardano settlement layer is distributed and decentralized, right? By limiting the influence that any given node can have. There's no one right answer. For example, like Giovanni mentioned earlier, an enterprise corporation is going to be able to spin up their own Dandelion instance. And maybe they're going to use that instance in production, right? As they connect to the world beyond. And for that organization, we shouldn't stop them from prioritizing their node, right? If we, if I build an enterprise solution and our team has built a Dandelion node in-house, well, yeah, I want to use that one, right? I want to prioritize that one. I want that one to have a greater influence on what's going on inside certain walls. Network wide, obviously, for, if I'm just creating a proof of concept, or if I'm a tiny developer team or a team of one, I probably am a lot more interested in using an array of Dandelion nodes that are across the network, right? So I think there's going to be different ways that different stakeholders think about the degree, where the incentive's coming from, how decentralized do they want it to be, how distributed is it important to be. And we have some unanswered questions there. And as you can hear, like, I need to get better at talking about this, but I do think it's going to be a little bit more complicated than maybe at the Cardano settlement layer.
And always on this point, I think that again, the Cardano ecosystem in this case is actually unprecedented, because I'll tell you a secret. Cardano very soon will have smart contracts. I don't know if you heard. And and the way smart contracts are conceptualized in Cardano is absolutely revolutionary compared to systems like Ethereum. Smart contracts in Ethereum are fully on the blockchain, while in Cardano is really different. So on the blockchain, there is nothing else than a few bytes that is the hash of the validating script. But all the software, the so-called PAB, the smart contract, the off-chain part, I started to call it as the microservice. Someone else is calling it the Web 3.0. But I tell you something, that's not running on the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
And this creates another opportunity, but also another challenge. So
it goes to authentication, right? Where
they need authentication, they need an infrastructure, they need somewhere where to run. And then again, you have those two proposals that are actually aiming to solve the problems even before they become a problem. Mm-hmm. So we're doing the work for us, guys. And we're putting thoughts into that. So.
Oh man! Oh no! I was watching iteration 2 of the Plutus Pioneers program, and among the many joys of this experience has been watching the way Lars explains things change from the first iteration to the second one. And lecture 1 or 2, I forget. He's talking about the validator, right? And the validator is represents the on-chain part of Plutus. And he emphasized differently than in the first go around. He said it 3 or 4 times. The only thing the validator does is say yes or no, right? The only thing the on-chain part needs to do is say, yep, this transaction passes, or no, it doesn't, right? And that recognition, and then stepping back and saying, oh, okay. So if the only thing that's happening on chain is accepting or not accepting a transaction, look at all the stuff that's happening offline, and look at all the opportunities that opens up, right? For security and privacy and keeping sovereignty over data or algorithms, right? It's really cool that these two things are separate. Any case, a lot more to understand there as well. This is the journey we're on, but this is why I love talking about this stuff with you, man. It's fun to be making progress. So really quick, we're already making this one of the longer weekly updates again, but it feels really good to be sitting here talking about these things and why we're doing what we're doing. And that's really what this other proposal is about. This is in the Developer Ecosystem Challenge. We have a proposal called Turning Devs into Blockchain Devs. And our problem statement, right? Again, it's been a while since we originally wrote this proposal, but our problem statement hasn't changed at all. We recognize that there's more work to do, to really bring the Cardano protocol to life than there are people who can deliver on all that work. And this goes beyond just developers, right? A lot of us need to practice talking about this stuff and coming up with metaphors that are going to make sense to more and more stakeholders across more and more fields over time. But of course, we've got to start with the devs. And so the proposal here is to fund a tight cohort of 4 developers, experts at their craft, whether they are full stack, front end, system admin, you name it, right? I hope that we hear from several different sorts of folks who are interested in this idea. But what we want this proposal to do is to fund 3 months of full-time work for expert developers who are new to blockchain development, to come in, apply their expertise, and to learn by doing about what it means to really build on the Cardano protocol. The expectation is that these devs will help bring to life the projects that are going on right now in Gimbalabs, but also develop the ability to spread the word about the tooling and the possibility and the pitfalls, right? All of these things that we just want more and more devs to understand as they begin to come aboard, right? So the revolutionary UTXO model, EUTXO model, right? How many people on the planet really have like a full active way of thinking about that model, right? There's design patterns that haven't been created yet. We're going to discover them over the next few months. And what we're hoping is that by bringing in some more devs, heck, maybe these will be the people who come up with the way of talking about something that everybody's been looking for. And then we will have this way of going out and sharing that with the world beyond, okay? So broadly, right, Gimbalabs, we are building open source tools and documentation to use those tools that can help people build a lot of things. And then we are one of the organizations using those tools to build commercial products that a lot of people can use, okay? So there's a lot of give and take between those two strands. And if funded, this cohort of 4 people is going to really push those conversations. You're always a highlight, Kyle. That's good. I think you're on the way. Especially, yeah, keep preaching, keep showing us how to think about this stuff. Beautiful. Giovanni, what would you add to that? Sorry, I just kind of I ran away with that one.
No, I think you made a great summary of this, and this is gonna have, like, as usual, a double is always as a win-win, because coaching is, it makes who teaches better and increase the knowledge of who's learning. We are in an industry that at the end of the day is only 10 years old, but we are also on a blockchain that, despite being 5 years old, has seen an explosion in usage. In only, like, today's first birthday of Shelly. It's today, like, so, like, happy birthday, Shelly. Like, it's, I want to say, I don't know if I want to say it's already 1 year or it's only 1 year, because I feel it's already 1 year. It's like for the for the many things that have, it's only 1 year. It's only 1 year has passed, but the amount of things that have happened in the meantime, like native assets and all this kind of jazz, is incredible. And at the same time, it feels like yesterday that I set up my stake pool, and it's going to be like that one a year as well. And Roberto would be the same. I think this epoch would be like 1 year of his stake pool as well. So yeah, we're going through a very interesting phase, and instead of improvising, of this is happening in the market, I see, like, I get reached out by people every single day, or at least few times a week. We have an awesome project, we want to work on this. It's like, dude, like, I have people reaching out to me every single day. And often I still feel I don't have the ability and the experience for such large or complicated project, despite being possibly very profitable as well. But I wouldn't feel like, I want to go down the line because I'm actually not that proficient in some areas of Cardano. And like me, there are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people that would like to learn, but there is so much to learn. Mm-hmm. So why not? Why not making a task force, a group that is focused on extending that learning that is happening already within IOHK with Lars teaching Haskell, but he's only one man. We need. I read the book a couple of years ago that is called The Multipliers. I will comment under this video with the details of the book, but this is exactly what we need. We need a few people that have been taught by IOHK, also been doing their own research, and we were going to turn into the multipliers. We will take all our knowledge and we will transfer it. And those people then can check if they understood by writing documentation that the teacher will go and review. And then questions are going to rise, and then the conversation is going to start. And then sparks are going to come up, and ideas and suggestions and improvements. And once the flywheel started spinning, my friend, just can't stop that. And we are talking about Cardano, and I'm not a Cardano maxi, but this Cardano thingy, I think he has the potential, and so it's just going to be a spiral going faster and broader and faster. And so
these tools used well have a lot.
This Lays Wiseman, that's exactly the book.
That's the book. I've heard about this one. You recommend it?
Oh man, no idea. This cool. I like you read the first page, you put the book down, and it's just like, it's already the first page.
I love that you're saying that, right? Because these, I mean, you only get so many characters, right, for the title and the problem statement, but the intention is for this group right here to be leaders, right? Not just to be blockchain devs, but to truly be leaders. And we need more. Going back to the beginning of this conversation that you and I are having right here, decentralized and distributed, and maximizing both. The only way to maximize both is to make sure that more and more people have the knowledge and leadership skills to lead, to not rely on other people, right? But to say, hey, I can collaborate. I can be there with you. We're not reliant, on each other for direction, but we are reliant on each other to build what we're building.
We've seen this thing happening already. Like I started my journey with Roberto. So Roberto was the one who started this journey before me. Then we met, and he multiplied because he brought me in and he taught me the things, and then I went off and learned my own things, and then I started to teach back to him some things, and I taught the things that Roberto taught me to other people. And there you go. That's the first multiplication. Now it's time for the next one, right?
Yes. Yep. None of the outcomes that we're all dreaming about are guaranteed. Right? They're all possible if we work hard, and if we figure out how to work together, right? I like our chances, but it all comes down to actually coming together and doing it. So it's an exciting spot to be. This was fun, man.
It's very good indeed. Yeah.
I hope that this conversation finds its way to some undecided voters or some folks who maybe haven't noticed these proposals yet. I'll make sure to retweet this conversation over the course of the weekend. It's Monday morning my time that Fund 5 voting ends, right? So it's like 11 a.m. UTC or something. So I'm just thinking of it as voting ends this weekend. I've submitted a few votes already, but definitely want to take a little more time tomorrow to read slowly. And it's really hard to get through all the proposals, but at least looking at each list and kind of seeing what has generated high ratings from community advisors. It's not a perfect system to rely only on those ratings, but it's a good place to start and to scroll through and see what feels valuable. So voters out there, thanks for considering these proposals. We are excited to pursue our goals anyway, right? Whether or not this proposal gets funded, we still believe in this problem statement. So we're going to work on this problem no matter what. But obviously, funding would help us to move it forward in the way that we envision. So if our vision here, or here, or here, where is it, Dandelion, resonates with you, we encourage you to jump in. And please be sure to hit us up in the comments to this video on YouTube, or by tweeting at us if you have questions, and we'll be excited to engage over the next few days. Any last words, my friend?
No, I quote you word by word. I just want to say thank you. And I know that out there are lots of people that, besides the economical aspect or the greed of making the money and the smart contracts and 10 pair, 20 pair, 50 pair, shill me your coin, they actually take the time, despite how large their wallet is, to do their diligence. Because with large wallet comes great responsibility. And a couple of people on my Twitter feed just reached out to the community and said, is there anyone out there who knows a proposal that should be read carefully, that is a gem, not only gem in the cryptocurrencies term, but a gem into the catalyst. So I just, of course, I think that our proposal are good. So I went out and said, look, I have my own, that is a blockchain out mechanism. And 5 minutes later, I was like, thank you very much. Like, this doesn't sound, as we mentioned earlier on, like the sexy thing that everyone wants to vote and wants to have developed. But he realized that it is an enabler. This is something that will make the ecosystem better. So I know that out there are lots of people very capable and ready to take the challenge and really go and find the proposal that really add value to this ecosystem. And sometimes it is not the shiny gem or something. It's the awkward introvert proposal that really is solving a problem that maybe the majority are not aware about, but they're going to make the ecosystem so much better, and in our case, fairer, if I said it properly in English. But yeah, perfect. That's it.
It's perfect, right? So I kicked it off by just kind of sharing lightheartedly. This is weekly update number 28. 28 is a perfect number. The next time there's a Gimbalabs weekly update, number 496 with a perfect number, it's going to be the summer of the year 2030. And this is the story of between now and then. The story of this decade for me is moving the conversation about blockchain beyond the very limited scope of talking about money that it is right now, right? Money is important. It's going to play a role. But what we are doing is a lot more than that. And over the next few years, more and more different stakeholders are going to recognize what this technology actually is, what it can do. So here's to it. Thanks, y'all, for joining us. Have a great weekend, Giovanni.
Likewise. See you, everyone. And thank you for being here.